And welcome to another edition of Fearley Presents Up in the Rafters. Hey. So, Mark is in a
There you
parking
go.
lot. Where are you at exactly?
Oh, I'm in a park. It's Taco Tuesday. Ay, 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 ay. I'm at LeBron James' house. Yeah,
So
it's
he's right
yeah,
out there.
yeah.
He's
There's a
right out
cop
there
here,
for
as you can
long.
see. There's wicked one.
And then I'm right
But yeah,
outside PlayStation headquarters in San Mateo, California. It turns out Jeannie Buss's tweet was true. So there will be PlayStations being dropped off to Laker fans shortly. But other than that, we actually have a returning guest, a great friend of ours. He is someone that we haven't seen in a long time, and we're going to talk about why that
hey,
is. It is none other than Lakers staple in Lakers Twitter. It is Petty in the Post. Petty, welcome back.
Yo, what
yeah.
is up, fellas? How y'all doing today?
Doing good. Before you entered the chat, we kind of talked about it. We were supposed to have a play-in edition of you appearing on this podcast. And unfortunately, just like how we promised Andy Frasco to have him on for the play-in edition, the Lakers did not make the playoffs. So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's been too long. Unfortunately, we for circumstances that none of us could control. I was not able to come back on for the Lakers play-in playoff edition. So
I mean, like this has been a slow offseason, and obviously the Nets are kind of stonewalling this whole thing of what is Katie going, is Kyrie going? But if the Lakers do have a chance at either superstar, most likely they're leaning towards Kyrie. But do you want any of those guys? Like, is there any particular superstar that you would want to trade for Russell Westbrook?
yeah, Lakers fans will tell you they're like, we'll take anything. For me, it's funny. My perspective has been changed, like has changed so much over the last couple years as I've gotten like closer to people who work for the team and like understanding basketball on a higher level. And like this is like I think it's the worst for the fans because it's so drawn out. It like brings out the worst in us. Like as Laker fans, as Nets fans, it just brings out the worst in us. And we're just like something happened. Like whether it's like us not getting them or getting them, we just want something to happen. And like the fact that it's not is just like has us like up in arms. For me, listen, give me Kyrie. I want that like just for the spectacle alone, because you know what? No matter what, how terrible the Lakers are, LeBron and Kyrie will always be entertaining to watch. So they'll be like, after what I saw last year, I know that I don't want to see that run that back again. I don't want to see that a second time. I don't have an issue. Like, I don't hate Russ like other people do, but I do know he's not a good fit and that we're not going anywhere. And I honestly don't want to see him go through that anymore. Like the way that he's been treated, even though like some of the criticism of like him as a player, I'm with it, but I don't want to see it again. So bring me Kyrie right now. I
I,
want to see it.
I I know we need it. Did you see that report where was it ESPN or someone predicted that the Lakers next year or this season, I should say, are going to go 42-40? I believe. Did you see that? They're already
Yeah.
predicting that.
Yeah. I don't have high hopes for this team for the regular season, even if we get him.
Totally. Okay, so that was gonna be my question. So with the addition to Kyrie, do you feel that it's gonna change drastically? Then you feel like that's gonna be like the moment where it's gonna be like, oh yeah, it changes the whole landscape of the Lakers.
Definitely. I think, us having like a definite shooter who can shoot and create their own shot is going to be something that's important. It's like it's going to be like Malik Monk on drugs, you know what I mean? Because it's like he, because like the thing is like Kyrie scores like he's 7 foot tall. Like there's nobody you don't see Kyrie getting his. I think the last time I saw Kyrie get his shot blocked was like Kobe. You know what I mean? Like I don't. He doesn't get his shot blocked, so we need like a player who can just like create their own offense. It's like, oh, you're gonna double AD. Well, you're gonna leave Kyrie 1-on-1, or you're gonna leave LeBron 1-on-1 on the perimeter. So I think it's a match made in heaven. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, and I think obviously you saw what it brought to Cleveland. It brought them a title. They probably would have had two if Kyrie didn't get hurt the first year, right? Like it was a depleted Cleveland roster without Kevin Love, without Kyrie, going up against a kind of vulnerable but a brand new experienced Golden State Warriors team at the time. And I think at least their championship, like that's just part of the formula. Now
Yeah,
to add Anthony Davis into the mix, I mean, that will be crucial. All of
Yeah,
course saying
AD is not Kevin Love. Let's make sure we bring that to the forefront of the conversation. And he's not Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh, like competitor. I wish AD had a little more Chris Bosh in him, like
yeah.
personality wise. But even Chris Bosh, like he is the most talented person I would say that like LeBron's ever played with. So I think that's like those three together. They're gonna be like no matter how bad the rest of the roster is, it's gonna be a puncher's chance because you have those three on there.
Do you think with the work he's putting in this offseason that he can stay healthy for this upcoming season?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think there was questions prior to the after the bubble. If it was just, man, is it like bubble tax, from those short seasons back to back? But I think we're kind of in a place now where it's like Anthony Davis struggles to stay healthy. Like that's just and it's not like something you can be mad at him about. I don't think Anthony Davis ever shows up to training camp like ill prepared. Like he's always in good shape. He has like had like a good regimen, and people are calling that into question now just because he can't stay healthy. But as he gets older and is actually playing deep into the playoffs, I mean I think it's just like it's really like you have to load manage him. I hate that, because I made so many jokes about Kawhi, but the facts are is like I have to be if I'm gonna be saying that this season, someone's gonna be bringing out some old tweets, like, hey, remember when you said this about Kawhi? Because like that's the only way we can get through a season. And like I don't know. I don't think he can get through a season completely healthy without any nicks. I think you gotta kind of, put some bubble wrap around him. And that's not like a disrespect to him or like a negative thing. That's just the reality of the situation. And like I think that if we can get him to the playoffs relatively healthy, we're good.
So what would be a better investment? Doing exactly that with AD, yeah, minute restriction, kind of taking care of him. It's he's got a history, so I guess now we know how to approach him. Or with whatever equity he still has, see what's out there. Like I guess what can you get for an AD at this rate though, where he's
So
kind of injury prone?
it was floated around a little bit. To me, the perfect like this will never happen just because of the clutch ties. Like LeBron said, no, this is a little bit of insider information from what I heard. You can take it with a grain of salt because I'm just a petty Laker fan. But what I heard is that it was being floated around like KD and Kyrie to the Lakers for like AD and the picks and whatever they wanted, right? To me, that would be like that is the best for both worlds. They get a superstar back, and the Lakers, get two superstars. And that's like obviously like the ultimate like what if thing. But I mean I don't think it'll happen. But I think that would have been like the coolest, like best trade ever. It'd be blockbuster.
Okay, so hold on real quick because this is what I'm still trying to get over the fact of Kevin Durant, like with everything that's come out from the Athletic and all the sources, and Kevin Durant doesn't have any beef with Kyrie Irving. His beef is with the front office and the head coach. So if KD and Kyrie still want to play somewhere else, then would it be possible for the Lakers to like trade two superstars and give those two first round draft picks? Like if I'm a Laker fan, I would say hell yeah.
I think everyone says yeah, except for LeBron and Clutch, because you just can't do your clients like that. Like, and then that matters in the front office. Like, a lot of people give the Laker front office a lot of flack for what happened, but that's also on Anthony Davis and LeBron for like being okay. Like they have to approve those. If you think any of these trades and stuff go through without the approval of LeBron James, you're like I have some beachfront property in Idaho. I'd love to sell you because it's
and plus they practically begged Rob Pelinka to trade for Russ Westbrook. Russ, like they begged him for Russ because like that was pretty much kids asking their parents, "Can we keep him, please? Can we have him, please?" Like they begged him to have Westbrook, and look at what that brought in.
Yeah. I want to do this. I'm not gonna say where I heard this from, and because I can't share. I know that's like very like sketchy, but from what I hear, the only issue Kevin Durant has with the Nets is just like the GM. Like it has nothing to do with Nash. and and every time I talk to people who are like, no, KD, none of them have said anything about Nash being involved. It's just the front office. So I want to put that out there just because I've heard like Nash being put in there a lot, and like I've never heard Kevin Durant publicly like criticize one time Steve Nash. So I just want to put that. I know like the Nets fans hate him. They're like he's out there
Yeah.
just drawing in a coloring book and telling them to go get a bucket. So they're not big fans. They're not big fans of him at all. But I just wanted to put that out there. That's what I've heard.
So did they say that because of the same criticism as if like a Golden State Warriors team where like Steve Kerr could just because I feel like Steve Kerr kind of like I feel like he doesn't have to coach where Steve Nash I feel like he doesn't have to coach either because he has a pretty talented team but yet he still has to coach. So I guess is that more saying so on Nash then about his like coaching ability?
I would say that like some decisions that like Kerr has made has like shown his worth and shown his ability to like manage big personalities because like to me that is the hard part, and I think that like Nash doesn't have that presence, which is interesting because as a a point guard you would think he'd be the guy who would galvanize guys, but ever since he stole that MVP, he's been I've looked at him a little bit differently. I actually think if we do trade for Kyrie, that he needs to include that in the trade. Is Nash's MVP, Kobe's MVP? So.
I really
That's the
feel as
Pettiest
if
thing I love.
it's hard to tell who had a better Lakers stat line, Steve Nash or Troy Murphy.
That's rough.
Man,
because they're both just blips in Lakers past. You don't really remember them. You're like, oh yeah, they were like. It's one of those like. Did you know they wore this uniform at one point? It's just weird.
Yeah. I know, like, I remember how, like, pissed I was reading that, like, letter that he wrote to the Lakers when he was just like, guys, my body's breaking down. It's like, we know, man. We know.
you played 3 games.
We see it.
Yeah, man.
We saw it break.
He probably broke a nail trying to write that letter. Man, that was rough. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a crazy time right now as like a Laker fan and as like a sports fan. Like this week, the ramifications of like what Kevin Durant asked for, and if they would have like actually fulfilled it, are like you could do a whole hour on that. It's insane.
Yeah, and we've talked about this with some of our past guests like Harrison. I just really feel as if this offseason reminds me of like when the Lakers signed Mozgov and they signed Luol Deng. That offseason, like, and I'm not trying to bring up like nightmares of the Lakers past or anything, but that was the offseason where a lot of players were getting overpaid. And it was because of the salary cap increase. And like you didn't know how much people were worth. And I really feel as if this offseason, Rudy Gobert getting like 4 or 5 first-round draft picks from him, like that set the price. Like that trade should have been later because then you could have been like, okay, 2 or 3 first-round draft picks for Kevin Durant. Or you could have been like, it would have been more reasonable. It would have been more in the ballpark range. So the Minnesota Timberwolves fucked up this whole offseason for everybody.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because you can't even save face at this point. Like if they do make a trade, they're not getting that back unless I feel like the only place that can give them like a real offer is probably Celtics, right? Who could give them like a legit offer, like with Jaylen Brown and some pieces and some some filler and when it comes to like draft capital or whatever. But you know what I've noticed? I feel like we're also seeing the like devaluation of draft picks because people are so willing to give up these, except for the Lakers apparently, are so willing to give up these draft picks for just Rudy Gobert. So I think that like, once you get outside of like the top 10, and even that sometimes is a wash. Sometimes like you're getting all the people like you have like the Draymond Greens and like the jokers who are coming in later draft picks. You know what I mean? Who are like becoming superstars or becoming like all-star players. So it's really like a wash, and it just depends on like how well you draft, not even how high it is, that you have anymore.
Would you have done Russ and 2 first rounders for Kyrie?
I would do it before training camp. I wouldn't have done it when that was the thing because of
Mm.
one. I don't think they would have. I think they would have said, "Okay, we'll take that," and then they probably wouldn't have made the trade immediately because they needed to figure out for sure if KD was like they needed to figure out for sure, is KD gonna leave, right? Like
Mhm.
because if I'm talking about like the front of the like if I'm the front office, I'm not making that trade until I 100% sure that like KD, because obviously we've learned that it has nothing to do with Kyrie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That there's still the first rumor that came out, it feels like years ago after the offseason, was that Kyrie and them still wanted to play together, right? Remember that was like one of the first rumors after he said he wanted to be traded. So we
Yeah.
know it's
Yeah.
not Kyrie, right? That is the reason, the reason why he's wanting to trade. So they're like, man, we need to make sure before we trade a perennial all-star, one of the all-time great finishers in our in league history, Uncle
So
Drew. Uh,
and going back kind of with KD, do you feel like this is kind of damaging like the image? Not necessarily image, but like I don't know. I feel like maybe we've been well, they've been kind of catering to the superstars' demands a little, like they try
mm,
really hard to cater to them. But with KD, this scenario here, I personally kind of feel like okay, maybe this is enough. Like maybe we've had
mm,
enough of where we kind of let them do what they want to do, but at the same time, they're athletes. They're
mm.
performers. It's like you can't really tell them no, you can't. But do you feel like this could be a little like maybe change the landscape a little bit when it comes to like trying to get traded or trying to jump to another team?
Oh, it's definitely gonna be a point of contention in the next CBA.
Yeah,
I expect like a definitely like a holdout and a shortened season from a holdout, because
yeah,
the thing is like the thing that the NBA is never going to get out the ownership is it's always going to be a partnership going forward, because these guys are now businesses. Their face is there. They're always going to be like, there's the superstars are always going to have power and cachet. I mean, you go back to like Magic Johnson getting a coach fired, signing that like lifetime contract for $1 million, which sounds like nothing right now, but back then that was like a lot. Um and they've always had some degree of like really power, because the guys in football, outside of the QB, like people can only affect so much of the game. But like in basketball, you have an all-time great defender and scorer, like that guy can be the difference between being like the Lakers out not making the playoffs and then winning the championship in the bubble. So I don't think that's ever going to change, but I do think it's going to affect the CBA and how much money that they can make if they're going to be hopping from teams, team to team.
So I know you're a huge sneakerhead, but I also want to get your take on the new Laker jerseys, the throwbacks that were revealed
Ooh.
this week. They're surely fire. So we're gonna get to sneakers in a bit, but I just want to get like not just from your opinion about this jersey, but what are your top 5 NBA jerseys of all time?
Ooh, oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. So my top 5 NBA jerseys all time, we can just skip. I can let you know number 1 is going to be the Mamba jerseys. It just means
Okay.
so much. It's like it's pretty obvious. But like outside of that, it, this number 2 is going to be like the 80s Lakers jerseys. That's number 2. The yellow ones. And then after that, it's not Lakers at all. I love the 90s jerseys. So like the Raptors
oh
like
yeah,
that 90s Raptors
Reptar, yeah,
jersey.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The 90s Timberwolves one and the Jazz ones, I love those. Like I think those jerseys are great because it reminds me of a certain era of
yeah.
basketball, that like Kobe young in the league, like guarding Mike, getting, Cook talking, at All-Star game, knocking him down, punching him in the chest, like that. That era of jerseys to me is like when they are the best, because now they're so terrible. They look like like the Utah jersey is like the
Yeah.
one of the worst jerseys. It's like too minimalist. Like you look like actually some of these high school jerseys look better than that if we're keeping it real.
Yeah.
Yo, Golden State's jerseys, they're like supposedly like alt jerseys. They look like Michigan jerseys. Everyone was like crucifying for them. That
Oh, I like that old the 90s one, like the We Believe Warriors jerseys too. Those ones are pretty
oh,
those are pretty good too. My top two are Lakers ones, but outside of that, it's more of like that era of
Yeah.
because like I like that. You know what? I take that back. The third number three is gonna be that like Dodger blue Lakers jersey, and then we start like it's just that era of '90s jerseys where it's like they were actually trying to be like bold and like do cool stuff with it.
Do the
When you
Portland
said
Trailblazers jerseys land on any of that list, or land on any of those lists?
Yeah, like those are that era. Like all of those
Yeah.
jerseys, I like those. Like I wouldn't know if I would put that one in there because I've never particularly had any fondness of, of the Trailblazers at all. Like going all the way back to like, just never. We've never been able to win there when we were like for like 20 years. We could never win at, win it in
the Moda.
Portland. So, yeah,
in the
in
Rose
Portland.
Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Portland.
okay, real quick. You said Minnesota 90s, but there was like two versions of it. There was the young pup looking one where Kevin Garnett was a rookie, and then they changed the logo to look like a menacing wolf that was going to eat you in the middle of the wilderness, right? Like that
What's
one
the one
where
that had the trees, like the trees in the background?
that was like
was that second one,
his
right?
sophomore or third year. Yeah, like that's when they changed the logo and the whole. And that was like my favorite. The black unis with the trees around those sleeves. Those were sick.
Yeah, man. Like that was just like I said, there's just an era of basketball jerseys that it's like gotten worse and worse. Like I just remember like it's when I really started noticing it is when it's like, how do you mess up a Lakers jersey? Like you literally can really just do the same Lakers jersey over and over again with like bring back a random like OG jersey and like you're good. But how do you mess up the yellow on a Lakers jersey? Like that yellow, like the one in the bubble, that yellow was disgusting. I
know.
hated that jersey.
Oh, where it looked like a banana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hated that. I remember the only jersey that I bought was I got a Caruso one that was like the all white with the light blue on the trimming, the all white one. I usually like to get a jersey, from time to time, but I was like, man, I'm not until they change that color back. I'm not rocking with none of these jerseys.
Mark, do you got one more before I wrap it up?
No, I just wanted to more hear about the jerseys, but because my thing is that okay, so like as much as I hate the Celtics, you hate the Celtics. Zach loves the Celtics. Can't stop talking about the Celtics, but we hate the Celtics.
I love Jason Tatum.
I bet you do.
Future Laker.
Like there's something about the Celtics jerseys, like those old ones, that like I don't know. For me, that's like a nice classic jersey, like a classic basketball jersey. Do you feel there's other good jerseys like that where it's just like a classic?
Yeah,
like
yeah. For me, like I said, like I always try to keep things in perspective. I don't like Celtics. I want them to lose and like Bill Russell, like, God rest his soul. Like he hated the Celtics fans as much as we did.
Absolutely.
People don't know that he ended up getting his jersey retired in private with just the organization. And like, so to me, I was like, oh, I can rock with Bill Russell when I think about that. But like, I love the era of basketball, like the 80s. It saved basketball, like the Lakers and the Celtics rivalry. And like, if you sit here and say that like Larry Bird wasn't a cold basketball player, then like you're just lying. You're just lying to yourself. So like that era of jerseys, all that stuff where it kind of has like the old freshman letters, like the school lettering with the like, I love all of that. 80s and 90s, I think that's the golden era of jerseys. So I'm with you on that. I would avoid bringing it up, but it is a nice jersey. I can't hate.
So what did you think about the Winning Times version or portrayal of Larry Bird?
I felt like they were like kind of portraying him as like slow a little bit. But I thought it was interesting. He I love the way that they shoot that, where they don't take it too seriously. So like you can't really like be like, man, Larry Bird should be offended by that, Jerry West. But like I thought it wasn't too. I thought it was like I kind of like look at them as kind of like over exaggerations for the sake of like cinema. So I wasn't like mad about it. What do you guys think?
I personally thought they were trying to make him like a basketball version, like, so obviously a nicer version of like what's it called, A Man Without a Country, or like no Country for Old Men, sorry, No Country for Old Men, where it was like the less he says, or like the more intimidating he is, like he's so popular. And so that was the thing where they were kind of adding to his legacy by saying less is more. And even though he was a rookie, but it was kind of cool to
Yeah.
see the media jumping on his jock going like, what you have to Xander? Blah, blah, blah. Like,
But you know what? They were like that too. Like that was the whole thing. Remember Isaiah Thomas? Like he had to go out and like publicly apologize because it was this big thing in the NBA because he was like, man, that guy can hoop, but you guys wouldn't be talking about him like this if he wasn't white, you know? So like
didn't
there was,
Dennis
huh?
Rodman said something too, where he was like, yo, Larry Bird should have gotten the MVP. And everyone was like, oh, this is racism. Back in the
Yeah,
day.
exactly. So like they really were. It's the same thing too. It's like reason Caruso got more followers than like DeJounte Murray. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? It's like it's kind of one of those things that. And don't get me wrong, I love Caruso and stuff like that. And he's one of those guys like Derek Fisher and one of those guys where it's like you just have this kind of connection to him, even though he's not like a Hall of Famer or anything like that. But I mean, it's always a thing where they like the media is like fascinated with like white dudes who can hoop with black dudes because it's just let's keep it honest, it's like a rarity that there's ones that like are on that level. That's why Luka Doncic, everyone's like, dude, this dude, and he's great, but it's like there's like that extra level of spectacle, because
Yeah.
it's something that's not normal. So I just chalk it up to that. I don't like have that hate for it. Like I could imagine players in the 80s now that that players in the 80s, like I'm sure that was like I bet you like Larry Bird was making that extra money off court, you know what I mean, that some of the other players was not. So I can imagine like people being like, come on man, like we hooping too out here.
Nah, and you're exactly right about the Luca Larry Bird comparisons, because if you go onto YouTube and you type in Luca or Larry Bird, it's always like the top talking heads, Stephen A. Smith or Skip Bayless, like different shows just going like, is Luca the next Larry Bird? And it's just like, well, first off, they kind of are different players. Luca is a guard, but I see Luca more as a LeBron James than I do a Larry Bird,
Yeah. That's true. I think I look at like Luca as like a James Harden that's not trying to like be a foul merchant. It's like this, he has like the step back and like the like as much as I like Harden takes so much away from his game. You can't enjoy watching him play because you saw that he was being like very disingenuous, but he's an all-time great passer, all-time great scorer, and and neither of them could defend anybody, and they're both very sturdy. So I actually kind of look at him as like a less athletic, like James Harden. A lot of people look at it, and I think he's better. He's gonna be better than James Harden, but he hasn't won
without a
anything.
doubt.
I don't think I don't think he is better than peak James Harden yet, but I think he will be. But I think they're kind of like, I look at that as, to me, that's more of the comp that I look at when I see them. Maybe that's off, but that's kind of what I see.
No, I can see it, definitely. So go ahead, plug away. What do you got in the works? When are you seeing Genie Bus next? Like, please let us know what you got planned.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got a lot in the works. So like on top of sneakers, on top of basketball and Lakers content, I'm really wanting to like be my goal is to be like the link between basketball and sneakers because they're so synonymous. Like I feel like there's people who do sneaker podcasts and pop culture stuff like what they do at Complex. I love it. And then there's people who do basketball and then sometimes when it intersects. But like to me, like there's not anybody who's like both of those things. So I have like fully engrossed myself in the off season and like the sneaker culture beyond just being a sneakerhead and keeping up with it just because I love sneakers, but like what can I bring to this space? So I have a bunch of sneakers that I'm going to be doing reviews for. I'm going to try and do like a review every week for like 7 weeks straight during the off season. And then also I'm going to be launching like a basketball and sneakers podcast. So that'll be something that so that's like I haven't yet like I have all the like you guys are actually the first people that I've told about this outside of like the people who are going to be on it, so you guys are getting the scoop. But what I want to do is kind of like talk basketball, what's going on in pop culture, and then talk about people like their sneaker history and like what sneakers they were into growing up. So you guys got to come on now, like now I've built up some equity here. I've come on a few times, so now you guys got to come on and show some love.
Oh yeah,
definitely. And, you know what? This is gonna be the reel, and then I'm gonna tag Slam Kicks because Slam Kicks needs to pick up your podcast.
Oh, it's gonna be hot, so they better. I'm telling you, it's gonna be the future, yeah. You guys are doing great work, man. Huh?
No. So thank you for sharing that because I I like Air Max 90s. That's my thing. So I would love to talk about
See,
Air
that's
Max
what I'm
90s on the
talking
show.
about, man. It's like everybody has that, and it's like even people who are not like sneakerheads or who are like people like they'll always be like, "Oh yeah, I remember like this shoe was what was popular in school. This is what I like to wear." Like I just like it doesn't need to be some hyped expensive shoe. I love those
Yeah.
too, but like I love just like oh, I used to wear Vans. I used to wear like the those the Converse like because I saw magic in them. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I love all that history and like storytelling and like that's basketball to me. The best part about basketball and the best part about sneakers is like expressing yourself and the storytelling. So like that is what I want to like bring together and also keep it fun, because people are just like so angry right now, man, when it comes to like sports and basketball. It's like, do you guys even enjoy watching this stuff? Like, so I like that is like, my goal is you guys give away my secret, that I'm like not just the pettiest, but I'm also pretty positive. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, you are.
Love it. Love it.
Also, real quick, I just want to say there's nothing hotter than going into a gym and seeing a female who is wearing J's on her feet while
yes.
she's like doing her workouts. That's the
Yes.
hottest thing ever.
Taste. That is it. When a woman with sneaker taste is it doesn't have to be an expensive sneaker, but when you see a nice sneaker, you're like, this girl like actually selected this. She has some love for this because a lot of people, you see a lot of people going in there and some those busted like what are those called? Those like busted Adidas ones or like, oh, everyone's wearing Hirachis. I hate that. Listen. Like if I see a Hirachi on another person's feet in the gym, man or female, I'm just gonna like, yeah, I'm
This
done.
isn't 2005. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
All
So that's pretty much it, man. I just want to say too, man, I love you guys know anytime you guys hit me up, I always pull up because I love what you guys are doing here. And
Thank
Zach,
you.
Mark, dude, appreciate you guys, man. So
Dude,
thank you for
thank
letting
you,
me
Petty.
Appreciate you.
my long-winded answers and plug. All right.
No problem.
Yeah, there you go.
And definitely when you're up in LA, I know you live far away, but like if you're ever up in LA, maybe we can catch a Laker game. Maybe we could get drinks and shit like that.
Yes.
And see our shoes live.
Yes, let's do
Yeah, there
it.
you go.
No, let's plan that because it's so hard because like every single time I come up, it's like everyone hit me up. But you guys are like first on the list. You guys are up on the like first people I gotta
All
see.
right.
Next time I gotta catch a show
Let's
too,
do it.
man. Next time you guys are performing, next time you're performing, Mark.
Mark
like,
is always back
Yeah.
and forth between SD. So
yeah, dude. If you're down here, come on, holla at me, man. You got no excuse.
I'm in Vista on Saturday. So I know it's like around it's a little bit more north of you, but I'm out there. But I will be there at the Madhouse Comedy Club in a couple months. So I'll let you know for sure.
Hey, let me know for real. I appreciate you guys, man.
Cool.
all right,
Sounds
thank
good.
you, Petty.
Love it.
And this has been another edition of Fear LA Presents Up at the Rafters.